Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Sophie, and I am one of the educators here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Now, I am not alone in the studio. We have all of these animals here, but I'm also joined by my friend Ty, who is controlling all the cool stuff you see going on behind me. Now, something else that's really cool about his role in here is that he is helping us answer and communicate any questions that anybody might have. So, as you are tuned in, you might have noticed that the episode today is Ask a Scientist Anything You Would Like to Know About Sharks and also their relatives' rays. Now, I will be asking you for observations. I'll be asking you to share things that you notice. But also, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask us. Now, if you are watching along live, it is 9:02 here in Southern California, Pacific Standard Time. And you can text us at 562-286-1838 and he will be able to let me know there is somebody on the line and then I can answer that for you. But if you are watching after the fact and would still like to get in contact, we have our email down there. It is live@lbaop.org. So, again, two ways for you to get in contact with us. That number is if you are watching along live and you can text it. And if you are watching after the fact, you are more than welcome to utilize that email. So, the episode today is all about sharks, and that's why we are starting out here in Shark Lagoon. Now, the first thing I like to do is I usually like to have us warm up our scientists' brains. And the reason why is because a big thing that scientists do is they make a lot of observation using their senses. Now, today, the primary sense we will be using is probably our sense of sight. Now, other times when you are out in nature, you may be using your sense of smell, maybe your sense of hearing. Maybe you're even tasting things as well. But I want you to go ahead and start warming up with that sense of sight. I'm going to go ahead and step off screen. And I want you to make a couple of observations about some of the things you see in here. Now, observations are just a very fancy word for talking about things that you can see with your eyeballs. So, what are some things that you are able to notice? It can be about the habitat, the home of the animals, or it can be about the animals themselves. What are some things you'll notice? If I am making an observation, one of the things that I may recognize is here, especially right here, and then kind of towards the middle of this exhibit, we have some really colorful kind of looking rock things. Now, those are some artificial or fake corals that we have in here, but a lot of these animals can be found in tropical regions near some of these coral reefs. So that's why we have those ones in here for them, so they feel right at home. Now, what are some other things that you may notice about the animals in here? We have a lot of different fish. You may see some fish that have a big kind of almost horn sticking out of the front of their face. If those remind you of any mythical creatures, that is actually the name of those fish. We have some unicorn fish who have that big, almost horn sticking out of their front of their kind of face, and that's how they get that name. Now, what about some of those larger animals swimming around in here? We got a couple different types of sharks in here, and the reason I'm able to tell we have different types is because I see different movements from them, and I also see some different coloration on them too. Now let's see, I kind of see the shadow of one swimming by, so let's see if we can spot who that one may be when it comes right in front of the camera. Ooh, I believe that is one of our black tip reef sharks. And the reason why that shark has the name black tip reef shark is because it has little black markings on the tips of its fins. And right now we had one of our sharks with a super long tail come by. You also might have noticed that that shark had spots all over it as well. And believe it or not, those sharks with the spots are our zebra sharks. When those sharks are first born, they have stripes just like a zebra, but as they grow older, those stripes turn into dots. So here at Shark Lagoon, it is an awesome exhibit because not only do you get to see all of these sharks, but there are also some that you get to touch as well. Now, a common question that we get asked when we are outside at Shark Lagoon is why aren't these sharks eating all the different fish in here? Well, a couple of things. These animals are incredibly well fed. We give them food all throughout the day. And also, these fish are a little too fast for the sharks. They prefer food that is a little easier to catch because they tend to be kind of lazy or very efficient with their energy. And I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that later. But The reason why we often differentiate between sharks and other animals, especially fish, is because they are a little different. What do we have inside of our own bodies that helps us move around? Go ahead, think about it for a second. We have all sorts of stuff. You may be thinking about your skeleton, you may be thinking about your muscles, maybe your tendons and your ligaments. Well, that is true of some animals too, especially like our fish. Our fish have skeletons inside of them that are made out of the same material that our bones are made out of. So they have that really hard bone inside of their body. Now, you may hear different scientists talk about bony fish, and you may also hear them talk about other animals as cartilaginous fish. Now, the reason why sharks and rays are different from other types of fish is because they are one of those cartilaginous animals. Instead of having that really heavy, dense bone in their body, they have the stuff that we have in our ears and in our noses. So you'll notice that your ear or your nose is a little more flexible than like your arm bone. And that's because that cartilage allows more flexibility. It's also a little lighter, so these sharks and rays can kind of glide without having to keep pushing their tail back and forth to keep them moving. So that's what makes them very different on the inside of them. And that's why scientists often differentiate between bony fish and those cartilaginous one, the sharks and the rays. So now that we know what it kind of looks like or what's different on the inside of a shark, we are going to start taking a look at the outside of one, and then we can talk about some of those different body parts as well. Now, Ty, would you be able to bring up one of our model sharks for us, please? Oh, perfect. We have one of our gray reef sharks right over here. Now, this is one of our sharks that we have here at the aquarium as well. They're not the biggest of sharks, they're on the kind of more medium to small side. But these are some of those ones that you can find in those warm, tropical, really kind of sunny waters. Now, when you are looking at the body of the shark, like just the body, not with the fins on it, how would you describe that shape? Does it remind you of maybe any other animals? Does it remind you of any like sports equipment? Now, when you are looking at that kind of body shape of the shark, it actually has a very unique kind of shape to it. It is kind of like a stretched out diamond. So if you put your hands together like this and then stretch them out, you get that nice shark shape that we see right here. Now, that shark shape is called fusiform, and having that nice fusiform shape means basically they are kind of like a torpedo. Now, this is different from some of our other types of fish. Sometimes fish, and actually I have an example over here. Sometimes sometimes fish can be super flat just like this. Sometimes they may be even flatter like this. And sometimes they can be super round, but that really nice kind of torpedo shape is very unique to sharks and having that fusiform body. Now, what else do you see on the outside of this animal that may sort of help it survive or live in its environment? If we think about how these animals are moving, what's helping these animals move? We have, oh, thank you. Yeah, we can take a look at Shark Lagoon and see what these animals are using to move around. You may notice they have fins similar to how some of our other fish do too, but they may be using them a little differently. So sometimes when fish swim around, they use their tails. They may use these side fins right here, the pectoral ones, to help them moving around. But when sharks are swimming around, do they use those side fins, those pectoral fins? Are they kind of flapping them back and forth like how other fish do, or like an airplane? Oh, here we get a great example. Not really, right? They tend to use their tail to kind of propel and push themselves through the water. So that's what they have on their body to help them move. Now, if we go over to our document camera, I want to go ahead and add a couple of my little shark parts over here as well. So we get that nice, really kind of stretched out diamond fusiform shape. And I will write it down here as well. And then they also have all those fins along their body to help them move. So they have that nice dorsal fin up here to keep them stable. They have their tail in the back to help propel them through the water. And then they also have all of these little side fins that will help them sort of steer. They got a couple of additional ones back there as well. Now, as we saw on our zebra shark, one of the spotted sharks that just swam by, those ones tend to have an incredibly long tail. their tail can take up, like just this part, can take up about a third of their total body length. So it can be super long. However, these are not the sharks that have the longest tails, actually. That award goes to another shark called the thresher shark. And I believe we should have a picture or a video of our thresher sharks over there as well. Okay, just kidding. Well, we may be able to find it, but like I was saying, incredibly long tails, and it's actually a very useful adaptation or useful tool that these ones have. Now, zebra sharks have super long tails. However, they don't use it for the same purpose that the thresher sharks will. Thresher sharks have super, super long tails, and they actually use it to help them get their food. So I can use my model shark over here as well. We'll pretend this one is my thresher shark. And they will use their back tail to kind of whip over the front of their body and then hit or stun their food. Oh, perfect. There we go. So we may not be able to see it over here, but the tail keeps going further and further and further this way. So having that really long tail means that they are able to kind of stun and hit some of their food. Now, with those tails, you may be wondering, well, I can't really do a back bend like that or like stretch my body in kind of that way. I couldn't imagine using a tail over the front of my head. Well, since these animals are cartilaginous, they have some of that added flexibility. Now, something else that's very cool too about this thresher shark. Do you notice anything else on its body? Anything else that's very interesting or anything else that maybe makes it look kind of funny or a little silly? I know when we are looking at this particular photo, it really looks like this shark is kind of giving us the side eye. Now, because thresher sharks can be found in all sorts of different areas, we see here that they're kind of in darker blue water. You may see sharks that live in those deeper areas with really big eyeballs. This is also true for another species of shark, the mako shark. They are the fastest shark in the world and they swim through the waters incredibly quickly. And because they're moving so fast, they need to have really big eyes to make sure they can take in any sort of light that's there. So that's something else that's unique about these sharks. Now, all their eyes also look a little bit different as well, but they will use their eyes the same way that we will to help them see. Oh, that's perfect. You can see that it has that really nice big kind of all black eye right there. And like I said, these are some of the fastest sharks in the ocean. Now, when you are swimming around in the water, or if you ever opened your eyes underwater, does it kind of hurt? Are you able to keep your eyes open for a long period of time underwater? Or is there something else that you kind of use or equip to help you stay under the water a little longer? I know if you are swimming in a pool, you may often use goggles to help protect your eyes from the chlorine. And you can also use goggles when you go out in the ocean, but typically people wear really big masks over their eyes so that they have all areas to see, but also they keep that salt water out of their eyes. Now, with sharks, they don't really wear any goggles. I don't think they would fit that well if they wore the goggles right here. It probably wouldn't allow them to open their mouth well. But sharks have a very, very special eyeball that helps make sure they can keep them open underwater. And also, when sharks go to bite something, they have a eyelid or a membrane that will cover their eye so that they don't end up injuring themselves when they are eating. Now, sometimes sharks can also roll their eyes a little bit further back into their head, as well as use that extra membrane to help make sure they don't accidentally poke themselves when they are eating something. Now, that's especially true for some of those larger sharks that are really getting kind of into battles or definitely having to go maybe a little harder to get some of their food. Now, here in this photo of our mako shark, not only do we see the eyes, but we see a couple of other really cool things here on the shark's body. Now, I'll use this similar to our last analogy. When you are swimming underneath the water, what kind of limitations do we as humans encounter? Or what are some reasons why we can't stay down there that long? One of the reasons may be we are not able to get oxygen from the water like other animals may be. Sometimes we have to hold our breath, or if you're like Ty, you take a scuba tank down with you and you can hang out there a lot longer. But for these animals, they don't need any oxygen tanks. They have these gills right here, these lines on the side of their body that will help them breathe. Now, all sharks will have about 5 gills. We see right here, we got one, two, three, four, five. Now, there is a type of shark that has six gills on it. It is called a six gill shark. And with that in mind, there is a type of shark that has seven gills on it. What do you think the name of that shark is? If you guessed seven gill shark, you are correct. Oh, we have a six gill. Oh, perfect. So these ones are a little more kind of rare to see, but they are often named after things that are kind of special about them. Now, because this shark has six gills, and that was something that was new to scientists and researchers, they named it the six gill shark, and very similar with that seven gill shark. So sometimes when scientists and researchers are naming new animals, they may name them after themselves, or they may use the world around them to make sense of these animals, and they may name them after other things that they may know too. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and maybe say that one of these sharks may have babies with it. Now, the reason why I may be thinking that is because we have two sharks right here and we can compare their sizes. So right here we see this shark is kind of nice and almost, well, not flat, but still fusiform, but doesn't have a big belly sticking out like how this one is. Now, sharks do have babies. However, they don't put as much time and energy into their babies as mammals do, like whales, dolphins, otters, us as humans. They kind of have their baby, and that's it. They are swimming around in the ocean on their own. Now, something else that's very cool about these sharks is they can have babies in a couple of different ways. So, if you think about yourself as a human, how were you born? Did you have a hatching day? Do you have a birthday? Did your parents or adults sit on you as an egg before you were ready? You may not remember it, but when you were first born, you came out and you were probably crying, screaming, all of that stuff, but you were born live. Now, sharks give live birth similar to how we do, and some sharks also lay eggs. So it's cool because they have the mix of the two, and then some even have a mix of those within their own body. So here we see a little shark egg, which is often called a mermaid's purse because they can be found in the ocean. And we can see the little kind of embryo right there, as well as the yolk sac. So we see a little developed or a little beginning of a shark right there. And we see that light behind it kind of lighting it up too. So that is a very good example. Oh, look it. You can even see the shark forming a little more too. Now, this is one of our bamboo shark eggs. So, here at the aquarium, we have a whole bunch of female sharks that are constantly laying eggs. And so, we are able to take a look at some of them, kind of like this. And sometimes we may not see anything inside of them. Sometimes they may just be a kind of empty egg as well. Okay, so that was a cool little kind of segue into some of those awesome other adaptations of sharks. But I want to go back to my shark drawing because now we can add those eyes. Now we can add those gills on the shark too. So again, they have five gills, unless it's a six gill shark or a seven gill. And they also have those eyes to help them sense other things too. Now, when you think about the senses that you as a human have, what are some other senses? You have your sense of sight. You may have your sense of smell too. Now, what's special about us as humans is that our sense of smell and the way we breathe are kind of connected. We can breathe through our mouth and we can also breathe in through our nose. But with sharks, because they are breathing primarily through their gills, they will not use their nose to breathe. Instead, their nose is all for smelling, and they can smell all sorts of different types of stuff in the water. So sometimes when you look at sharks, you may see just little kind of dots by their faces. Sometimes you may see things that may look a little more like nostrils, but they do have noses, and that will help them to sense different things. Now, one thing we are definitely missing here on our shark is the mouth of the shark. Now, when you think about the mouths of sharks, what do you first kind of think of? Do you think about a shark that has a big mouth and a whole bunch of big teeth like this, kind of like a white shark? Or do you think about maybe ones that can be a little smaller, like maybe our zebra shark with a smaller little mouth here on the bottom and not really any teeth sticking out? When you think of sharks, you might have thought about that first one, and that's totally cool. But because sharks are all sorts of different types of sizes, colors, they have all sorts of different variations to them. Their mouths are also very different too. Now, what do you have inside of your mouth? What helps you eat? What helps you kind of process that food? You have your teeth, right? So all the teeth and all the mouths and all these sharks are very different. Now we have an awesome picture of one of our white sharks right here. And when you are thinking about the mouth placement on this animal, how would you describe it? Is it kind of like towards the front of its face? Is it totally underneath its body? What does it kind of look like? Because if we don't know how some of these animals are eating or what they're eating, some of the things we can take a look at is where their mouth is on their body and also what type of teeth they have. So, this white shark has its mouth kind of towards the front of its body. So, that means it will be eating things that will be maybe in front of it. Maybe it can turn sideways a little bit to take bites out of it. But something else that's also very unique is the type of teeth that these animals have too. Now, if we go back over to my document camera for just a second, I have a couple of shark teeth that we can look at. Now, I have some that belong to a white shark, or I have one really nice white shark tooth right here. Now, yes, this is the size of a white shark tooth. This is the size of my hand. And you'll notice they are really, really big. Something else that's cool too is if you look on the sides, you'll notice that it has a bunch of tiny, tiny, almost little kind of lines in it. And those are serrations, just like how you may see all those little bumps on the side of a knife. Now that's helpful because for animals like the white sharks, they are taking ripping and tearing bites out of things, especially things that may be a little harder to eat, like seals, sea lions, maybe any deceased whales. So they need to have those really kind of big teeth and also those serrations on the side to help them take nice big chunks out of it. Now, if we take a look at another type of teeth, this one may surprise you a little bit. Now, I promise this is the actual size of a shark jaw, and it is right here. Again, here is I'll zoom out because it looks really big. But again, that's my hand for reference. This shark jaw can fit in the size of my hand. And you may be wondering, well, I didn't even know sharks could be that small. Some of them are really small and some of them can be super, super big. But even in these small ones, they will still have tiny, tiny little teeth. Now, this is from a type of shark called a swell shark. And here at the aquarium, we are feeding these animals things like squid, tiny pieces of shrimp, and maybe other small pieces of stuff. But the key word is pieces. These animals aren't really taking ripping and tearing bites, they are mostly swallowing their food whole. But having all those little rows of teeth will be helpful because sharks lose a whole bunch of teeth in their lifetime. Some sharks can lose up to 100,000 teeth. And that wouldn't be good because if they lose all of their teeth, then they would be gummy sharks very fast. So shark teeth work just like a conveyor belt. There are always a whole bunch of rows back here. Sometimes they may be under the gums, but they are available for when all of these front teeth eventually start falling out. So that's why they have all of those little rows right there. And oftentimes you can see it if you look on the back side of shark jaws. So again, this one's from a swell shark, a species that is local to us here in Southern California. And they are ones that we actually hand feed too. We're able to put their little pieces of shrimp in front of them, and they usually are able to smell it. Sometimes it takes them a little bit of a moment. Now, there is one more jaw I want us to take a look at while we are here, and that is the mouth of a ray. Now, rays and sharks are cousins. They both have that cartilaginous skeleton inside of them, but their teeth are totally different. Rays have these really flat teeth called dental plates that are really good at crushing stuff up. So anything that has a really hard shell on it, they are able to crack that open and then get into the food inside that they would like to eat. So those teeth are really cool, and I like to think of them almost like a nutcracker. Now, while we are here, I'm just going to add the mouth on our shark. And they have all sorts of different teeth. So they can be teeth like this, or maybe little tiny, tiny teeth just like that. So, with these animals, and we can go back to Shark Lagoon or we can take a look at any of our other sharks too. But with these animals, the food that they like to eat is actually very interesting. So, all different types of sharks like to eat different things. Some of them like bigger seals and sea lions, some of them may like squid tentacles. But one of the things that they really do not like to eat or like to consume is us as humans. One of the times when we think about sharks, sometimes we may be a little afraid of them, sometimes we may be nervous to get in the water. But luckily for us, these animals really prefer to eat food that they can find in their own ocean habitat. And actually, some sharks will not even eat super fast fish either. Sharks and rays are relatively efficient, energy efficient animals, which means they don't like to waste their energy when they don't need to. A lot of animals in the ocean do not really know where their next meal is coming from, so they are opportunistic hunters or eaters. They will eat anything they can find at whatever moment just because there's no guarantee they'll be able to find food soon enough. And because of that, they like to save their energy and eat things that are maybe injured already, eat things that are maybe sick, and that way they can save their energy and they don't have to go after those super healthy and super fast animals. So that's why they don't eat the fish here in Shark Lagoon. It's because those fish are too fast for them. And also because we give them plenty of opportunities to eat all sorts of other things too. Now, with sharks, one of the reasons why they are super important is because they help us eat all of those kind of leftovers. We like to think of them as the cleanup crew of the ocean, eating a lot of those things that are maybe deceased. They are scavengers, kind of eating whatever they can find. So they help us keep the oceans nice and healthy so that for when us as humans we get seafood, we are making sure that we get healthy seafood, seafood that is going to nourish our bodies, and stuff that's not going to make us sick. So even though sharks and rays are animals that maybe upon first appearance are a little frightening, they have a very important role in keeping our ocean super, super, super healthy. So you are learning a little bit about sharks just by participating and being here and listening to me talk about them. But also, there are a lot of other things you can do to better understand these animals. If there's a particular shark you like, maybe like the zebra shark, you can research more about them. Or also, you can research and learn more about some of the research done by institutions like us here at the aquarium or other places to see what their shark research looks like. I know here one of the things we are doing is we are studying how sharks are able to reproduce. So the reason why we are doing that is because we want to make sure that if the oceans get warmer, the sharks out there will still be able to reproduce, that maybe that warm water won't affect them too much. So that's something that we are trying to keep an eye on. Now, that's especially true in some of the more tropical places, but other research that's being done here in Southern California is also to see where some of our baby or juvenile white sharks may be hanging out. Now, sometimes when people think about sharks, the first one they think of is, ooh, that super big juvenile white shark, or the super big white sharks. But when these ones are babies or juveniles, they are about my size. They're about 5 to 6 feet long. And they like hanging out here in Southern California because we have warmish water, we have plenty of food for them to eat, and we also have lots of protection from some of those bigger sharks. Now, as somebody who likes to hang out at the beach, that may be a little concerning too. But what some of the research out of Cal State Long Beach has found is that these sharks actually don't even care that we are nearby. There are a lot of times when you see surfers, swimmers, just recreational people in the water spending time near these juvenile white sharks. And we know that they notice that we're there, but they don't really care. They may actually even be scared of us too. So, research like that, whether it's helping shark populations or helping the relationship between white sharks and humans, is really cool stuff that you can research on your own or you can learn more at places like this or other institutions where they are doing research. So, if anybody has any last minute questions, you are more than welcome to ask us. You are also more than welcome to use that email down below. But if not, I want to thank you so much for joining with us, for learning a little bit about these sharks, and also learning about how cool they are as animals. We have a lot more information on our website. There are other institutions you can take a look at if you are interested in learning more about these really awesome animals, too. So, once again, thank you for joining us. We will see you all next time.